So, I mean, anybody, you have heard of Blazor, right? People have heard of Blazor?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Not everyone, maybe you can just
No, narration.
yeah.
No, when you asked me that is the first time I heard.
Okay. So this is something newly introduced by Microsoft. It's a web framework. So everything is there in PPT. We'll slowly go through that. Okay. So we'll just take 20 minutes from what I've seen, hardly. Then 15 minutes or something for the demo. So okay. So we'll move on. Then what is Blazor? Everybody had this question when we started. So it's a web framework actually. Web framework meaning some kind of framework they have given us to be able to build and host web applications. Okay, just like we have like Windows framework, to build your Windows applications like WPF, Windows Presentation Foundation. Similarly, this is a framework for building web-based applications. So they want to move away from ASP.NET, so they're not calling it ASP.NET Blazor, but instead it is Blazor. So you can say it is one version above ASP.NET, kind of ASP.NET MVC. Okay, so two ways which we can write Blazor applications. So one is it can run client side in the browser on a WebAssembly based .NET runtime. So I'll tell you what it is actually. Okay, and or it can run on the server side in ASP.NET Core. So two types of Blazor applications are there. One is called Blazor WebAssembly, and the other is Blazor Server. So this is defined by Microsoft. Two ways you can write, but the way you write the application will not differ, but the way it is hosted and way it will be run, that will differ actually. Okay, so no questions here?
Yeah, no questions.
Yeah. So we'll see what Blazor assembly is. So here, Blazor assembly is the principal hosting model Microsoft has defined actually. So we have a browser, and browser has one UI thread, and within that UI thread is where the Blazor application is going to run. Okay. So what this Blazor application is going to consist of is your .NET runtime. So suppose you build an application targeting .NET 2.0, right? So the runtime now for that application is 2.0 related DLLs. So this Blazor application here we have within the UI thread will consist of .NET runtime and any dependencies like any static files that are needed. Everything is downloaded to the browser. So whatever is needed.
Core or .NET Framework?
No, it doesn't need .NET Core at all. So we'll come to that. I'll tell you. So what it is internally it uses .NET Core. It is part of .NET Core 3.1 right now. But whatever is needed, right? It is downloaded. All the DLLs are packed and downloaded to the browser. Okay, and it is run on a thread within the browser. It runs in the UI thread actually. Okay, so we'll see. More details. This is, one box representing overall how Blazor WebAssembly is. And coming to the pros and cons, of this kind of hosting model. So here, no server-side dependency, because when the app is run, right, everything is downloaded to the browser itself. Like the one DLL will be there for your application that will be downloaded. Some DLLs for .NET runtime and some static files like images. Everything is downloaded to the browser and executes within
where it will be stored actually, downloaded with browser means?
Cache, browser cache.
Yeah, browser cache.
Okay.
Yeah, it will be downloaded to the browser cache and it will be executed in a WebAssembly environment. Okay. Just like how our .NET Windows applications, no, they run within our Windows environment. So similarly, all DLL CXE is downloaded somewhere, and then it is executed within the browser. That is one of the pros. So that means we don't need to have any server side serving it. Yeah.
So
And,
usually earlier we had a server dependency, yeah?
yeah. Usually earlier it was full on server dependency. Now we don't
So now
need.
the DLLs will be there in the server, and the continuous connection you require. So how was the principle? I mean earlier.
Earlier it was
Dynamic web page is something like if at all you move to some other page, it used to go to the server. Okay, it used to render this information from the server. Okay, so that server HTML page, it used to come to the browser. Then with whatever the HTML content it is there, it used to display.
Yeah. So this I will explain with Blazor server, Shashank. That
Okay.
model is continuing actually, but these
Okay.
are some pros of Blazor WebAssembly. This is what Microsoft is pushing now from their side,
Okay.
because they have many things like Angular, React, Vue. So this is one product Microsoft has launched to compete with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is against Angular, huh?
Sorry.
This is like just like Angular. The Angular is from Google, right? So this is
This
from
is
Microsoft version.
Microsoft version, which will compete with these products,
Okay.
and something which we feel more comfortable, the Microsoft developers, to work with.
Okay.
Okay, and since everything is running on the client side, no, so it uses capabilities of the client. So there'll be no load on the server actually. Apart from first time when you request for some URL and you download everything, no. After that, everything is running on your browser itself. So load is fully on the user system.
Okay.
So there's no server load. Okay. And one more thing is, since you don't need a web server, right, for hosting this application, you can serve this application right from a CDN. CDN meaning CDN is like it is a content delivery network where you can get static files, images, script files. All these things can be taken from there. So similarly, like one zip, you have one zip file, no, which has .NET runtime, the application related packages. So you can just download it from somewhere and you can start running it. So you don't need a server also for this Blazor WebAssembly to host.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just give them a package, then they can start directly executing on their own browser itself. Just like you have Android APK files, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, we have some kind of files here. I don't know the format, which you can directly download from CDN and host, open it in your browser.
Okay.
Yeah. So like some of the disadvantages is so restricted to capabilities of the browser, because since it is dependent heavily on the user's browser, no. Suppose I have many things running on my browser and my browser capabilities are very less, right? If my system is around 1 GB RAM, all those things, and if I have a very intensive application running, then the application will not run very well. Okay, like that means I have to have the latest version of the browser available, and my user system where I'm running this application also has to be like high configuration and all that. And one more thing is WebAssembly is something new. It's a new technology. So not all browsers support WebAssembly. Only the latest versions of Chrome and Edge, no, they support WebAssembly. Okay. So for that reason, that is one of the con. You can't run this application on whichever browser we like. Okay, and next one is like since entire application is packaged and executed on your browser, right? So initial download will take a long time because the entire thing has to be given to you directly for the first time. So initial download size is larger. So first time when I try to load this application, no, it takes a long time. But subsequent requests, it will be happening quicker. Okay.
So if there is any upgrade in the application, then again it has to download from this. How the delta will be downloaded, or how is it? Like you upgrade from 1.0 to 1.1 application.
Yes.
So
Yes.
then what happens?
Yeah, there is a setting in our browser actually. So cache setting. I'm not sure if many people have seen. I'll just. So there is a setting where we can tell it whenever I visit a site, right? Always.
Cache is enabled. Something like that.
Always get the latest from there. Otherwise, what your browser does is it caches things and gives you the cache.
Okay.
So if this setting I have seen this setting somewhere. Let's see. Let's control 1 sec. Reload. Okay, for searching.
Hey, what is the point here? This guy. Okay, sorry.
Okay. So able to see my screen, right? Still.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. Shashank, I'll show that setting actually to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you enable that setting, what will happen? It will more frequently get the data from the server.
Okay.
And otherwise, what it will do is it will only get the data from the cache. Okay. So there is some timer setting there, like how often you should look for the files in the server. So we can look at that setting actually later. Okay, and one more con is, since it is new, no, I mean they're doing development as we are using it. The runtime and the tooling support, right? The support in Visual Studio is very less mature. And community support also is not mature actually for this, because very less people are been using it. So that reason you don't have good support. If you're stuck with something, then until and unless you are good at finding things on Google, no, it'll be time consuming for you. Community support is less. Okay, so any questions on that WebAssembly?
So Naresh, like you said, all browsers do not support this, right?
Yes, Bami.
Okay, so any examples of browsers it doesn't support as of now?
Yeah, like your older versions of IE, like IE 11, they don't support actually. So WebAssembly, no, it is a ECMA standard. It is a standard ECMA. I mean, Vinay, you want to shed some information?
Yeah. So basically, like what will happen on browser, if it is there, means there is some authority which controls this browser thing. Okay, so ECMA standard, like it will have its own standards, like one standard meant till this version. Okay, one more standard, whatever the latest browser it is there. So it will just use this ECMA standard, and accordingly they will create the browser actually. So now thing is like this, whatever the WebAssembly it is there, right? It is more like a new concept. Okay, so that means like you have like Windows 7, some operating system is there where you haven't updated your IE browser. Okay, so that IE browser was something like version like 8 version or 9 version. Okay, which was supporting the previous version of the ECMA standard. So in that case, so whenever you run such kind of Blazor application, then it won't support. So with latest whatever browser it is there, mostly it will be supporting.
Okay.
Yeah, so ECMA is a new standard actually, which a couple of different manufacturers of browsers, right? Like Opera, all these people, Opera, Safari, and your IE and Chrome, all these people come together and they'll define a standard. Okay, this is how this browser should work, and this is all the things it should support. So, and the newer versions, since it is introduced newly, the older versions of the browsers will not be able to support the ECMA standard, the newest, latest ECMA standard. So this this WebAssembly is part of the newer standards actually, which have told browsers that now going forward, you should be able to execute DLLs within your browser itself. Instead of earlier just opening HTML files, henceforth you have capability of even executing DLLs. So that is this concept.
Okay.
Yeah. So any other questions? Or we'll move on?
Yeah, we'll move on.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll come to Blazor server now. Okay. So I mean, more familiar model actually. As we can see, a couple of boxes. One left side we have a client. So suppose if I'm looking for some website, this will be me on the left side, and on the right side it will be server where the web application is running. And in between I have something called SignalR. Okay, this is also newer technology within the Microsoft platform, ASP.NET SignalR. Okay, so I'll tell you how this works. So let's go to the right side. We have
Naresh, actually for me the PPT
is
still in the previous page.
Oh, PPT is still in the previous page, huh?
Now it is.
Now it came?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Blazor server you're seeing, right? Okay.
Yeah, Blazor server.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll start. Then on this right side box, we have this .NET runtime. Okay. So this is the server, and on the left side we have the client. Okay. So your application is hosted on this server, which has some .NET environment, preferably .NET Core 3.1 and above runtime available. So any Windows server we can take, or Windows, Linux server, anything. And you have your .NET 3.0 runtime and 3.0 SDKs available over there. .NET Core 3.0 runtime and SDKs. Okay, that means if those things are there, prerequisite, that you can host your applications there. You create your application, your Blazor application, which will run within an ASP.NET Core container or environment, and that is in turn within this .NET EXE process. Okay. So, I mean, if you remember IAS model, right? This is exactly the same. Vinay, you want to elaborate on this?
Yeah, I'll just elaborate. Okay, this whatever the .NET EXE is, right? This is more like an framework actually. Like if at all you see any .NET framework, okay, if at all we want to run any .NET application, we have to install this framework, okay, .NET framework. Now thing is like something like an .NET Core came into the picture. Okay, the .NET Core is like very minimal version of the .NET. Okay, it can run on any platform, whether it is like in Linux or like other platform also. It can run Mac OS, Windows, everywhere it can run. So now thing is like whenever like first time when it downloads, okay, so this whatever the .NET runtime is there, right? Only that much it will be downloaded, nothing else. So from that it will try to load this .NET Core, and inside .NET Core there will be a WebAssembly called as a Blazor. Now this browser, whatever browser it need to interact with the server, so it runs through the SignalR. So SignalR is like more kind of a communication which is happening from the web server to the Blazor. It uses the WebSockets actually. Again, like WebSockets is like kind of a new technology what they have encrypted in the browsers. Okay, yeah. So, and IAS, regarding IAS, so any application if you want to host, okay, so especially in .NET application, so each and every web server will have this IAS configured. So there you can just launch your .NET application.
Okay. So yeah, some idea you have got, right? Some .NET process is there, .NET EXE, and specifically ASP.NET Core, and within that your Blazor application is running. Okay, and your whenever I request for this application, right, through my browser URL, only HTML files will be downloaded to my browser, and any events, suppose some button I click on this HTML page which is downloaded, then whatever has to happen for this button click, no, that is that event is raised, and it happens via this SignalR connection to the server. Okay, and some data has to be retrieved. It will go, that event will execute, the data is retrieved and again returned back via this SignalR connection. So this SignalR connection, they have created a abstraction over it, like a wrapper over it, specifically for Blazor, and that connection is called circuit. Okay. So this basic, already what we have seen with the ASP.NET, no, the client and server, similar concept, but happens over SignalR connection.
Yeah, so basically there it used to happen with the HTTP protocol. Now it will be happening through the WebSockets actually. So backend mechanism for the signaler is a WebSocket.
Yeah. Okay. So no doubts. We'll move on to the next one. The pros and cons of the Blazor server application.
Yeah, I can go.
Yeah. So one more thing I forgot to mention is this UI updates, the event handling, everything. Yeah. Entire stuff is all happening at the server side here. So here only you have basic HTML, some small functionality you can have, but major chunk of logic will be on the server side.
And I just wanted to know like how it is different from now current application. Like if at all you say any website, okay, where like you'll have your entire content in the some server, IAS server, like something. Okay. So now if at all you request URL, so it will lead to the server. So server will dynamically create one page and it will give to the browser. So that will be displayed there. So how it is different from this Blazor server?
Yeah, that we have a slide now. Last slide is there. What is the difference between Blazor and traditional model?
Okay, okay.
Why they came up with Blazor? I'll come to that. Yeah, good question, Vinay. Okay, so pros and cons, I think you might have already guessed actually, because we are leaving away all this business logic, everything in the server side itself. So first time when we request for the application, no, the download size is significantly smaller, because you get only the HTML and some images on the website, whereas the rest of the logic is on the server itself. And second thing is app has it takes full advantage of server side capabilities. So if you have a very good server on the back end, that means if any business logic which takes like time consuming business logic is there, that will be run on the server side. It can utilize all the different threads on the server side to run those operations. So you want to retrieve something from the database, then it will use the server capabilities. It can use all the multiple threads on the server, get the data and serve it to you immediately. So you don't need a powerful browser or a powerful client system to run this Blazor server based applications. Okay, and so .NET Core is used on the server to run the app. So existing tooling like your debugging will work as expected. you can debug these Blazor server applications easily compared to your Blazor WebAssembly applications. So however you used to work with ASP.NET Web Forms, ASP.NET MVC, similar way you can work. Okay, because it is using .NET Core on the server side, and when you host it, you can also debug it as well. You can use your diagnostics, all these things there. Thin clients are supported. As I said, like you don't need a powerful client machine now to run your application, because major logic is executed on your server side only. And one more thing is, one more advantage when it comes to security is, since your .NET and C# code is not going to be served to the clients. Okay, so when it was with WebAssembly, entire thing, even your C# code, whatever you write, will be downloaded to your browser. So if someone is wants to know what kind of logic you have written, they can take that DLL and use some disassembler and know what logic you have written and stuff. But here the logic remains in the server side only. So the client will not know when a request is made. Okay, what is going to happen on the server side, he'll not be able to see that unless he's an experienced hacker. Okay, then any questions on the pros side?
No.
Okay.
No, no.
Yeah, cons is like higher latency. That means more delay will be there, because every single operation you do will be going over the network, over the internet connection, and it will reach the server, execute the operation there, and it will return back. So everything happens over the network connection, right? That's why maybe some operation will take a lot of time. Suppose if you have very poor internet connection, then the application performance will be very bad actually. And offline support. So if there is no internet connection, your application will stop working actually. Unlike Blazor WebAssembly, once the application is downloaded to my browser, right? Most of the functionality is there. 90% of functionality will be there. And anything extra, I might need internet connection. Otherwise, it will work directly there. But here, I need a continuous internet connection. So offline support is not there. Okay. And scalability challenges. So what this means, I'll tell you. Because you're going to host your application on one server, okay? And when I request user one, I will go to this URL and I will request for the web application. In that case, what will happen? User one's URL, I will enter this web application domain name, and then it will go to this server. It will fetch the HTML and other dependencies. It will return back. Suppose if I have 10 or 15 users, all 15 users will be connected to my server. So similar like this browser, this Blazor server PPT you're able to see now, no? I mean this box.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. So if I have like 15 or 20 of these browsers, for example, so then what happens? 15 or 20 of these users will be connected to the same server. And for each of these users, the server has to maintain a signal-R connection. For one user, one signal-R connection, another user, another signal-R connection, and so on. And signal-R is like a continuous connection actually. It is not like fire and forget. It will be continuously telling whether user is still connected to the internet, all these things, some information will be there here, transmitted over the signal-R. Okay, so all that is maintained by the server. So if like there are thousands of users, then thousands of users will end up connecting to the same server. So that means until and unless I have one load balancer in between and multiple servers, my application performance will be very poor. You understood, right? What load balancer is and stuff? Or should I explain?
Okay, basically like what happens, okay, scalability means let us say like one application it is there, okay, so assume like it can just cater only 5,000 requests, okay, per second, okay, during peak time if some user like 6,000 comes, okay, basically what will happen, you will usually get this 500 error, internal server error. So that time we require to set up the two servers, okay, so two servers to run the application, okay. In that case, okay, now thing is like how it will, because like two applications, same application, it will be hosted in the two server, okay. How it will be decided like which server it need to go. So now something like load balancer comes into picture. So this load balancer, what it does, okay, it takes the request from the user, okay, browser, okay, so it just decides like based on the load, okay, it decides like where it need to give the request.
So it will see like server one is serving a lot of users and server one is busy. So load balancer will just route the request to server two, for instance. Got it or still confused?
Got it, Naresh.
Anusha, Rashid? Okay, then yeah, scalability challenges is just like if I have more servers, no, with my application, then the better the performance, and that means to have more servers, it will be more cost. So that is the main scalability challenges we are going to have actually. I mean, it is not easier to just increase my application performance if my users are increased. Okay. And ASP.NET Core server is required to serve the app. So unlike your WebAssembly, WebAssembly, it downloads everything that it is needed. Here, you need to have a server where ASP.NET Core is available. So ASP.NET Core can run on any machine like Linux, Mac, and Windows. So ASP.NET Core runtime and SDK should be available on that machine. And then your application can be hosted in such machines. If ASP.NET Core is not there, then your Blazor server application will not be able to serve from there. Okay. And the serverless deployment is not possible. That means I cannot create one zip file and give it to you, and then you can use that zip file to execute the application. That is not possible actually here. WebAssembly, I can give you a zip file and you can execute on browser, but in Blazor server, you can't do that. Two different type of applications these are. So we will just see how they are different. I'll just show two applications also. So this is fine. Or any questions?
Yeah, now if
Can
you
you
have
repeat
any
that, Naresh? Whatever you told at the end.
The last one, last point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, serverless deployment. So I told something about this Blazor WebAssembly, where I can give you one package, like one zip file, and that zip file will consist of all your .NET runtime and everything your application needs.
Yeah.
And directly you can execute that on the browser.
Bamni, it's like more like in TIA portal. Okay, you pack it and give it. Okay, so with whatever the package it is there, you can run inside your browser. Okay, but in case of the Blazor server, it doesn't run like zip file. It will be basically put it inside somewhere inside the server. Okay, from there you will try to access via browser.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Basically, since that logic is remains with the server always.
yes, correct.
Yeah.
That means server should be there to deploy.
Yeah. You cannot copy locally into your machine and execute. That is not possible actually. That is the thing here. Some server should be there to serve this application. Okay. So
But then those two different types of deployment you had mentioned in the beginning, right?
Blazor server and Blazor WebAssembly. This one, huh?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So these are the two things we have in Blazor where we spoke about. One is which can work on the browser directly, and one which needs a server to execute. That's why in the name itself, they have that differentiation. Blazor WebAssembly and the Blazor server.
Okay.
How we write as a developer, how we write or how we create application will not be different, but how they are executed, how it works internally, that is different for both.
Okay.
Any other doubts, guys?
You have created any application for demo?
Yes, demo application is there. Both server and WebAssembly. I'll show this after this thing PPT. So we'll move on to the next slide then.
Yeah.
Okay. So Vinay, we come to that question which you asked actually. I mean, if Blazor is working similar to current ASP.NET way, I mean, why do we need Blazor actually?
Blazor server.
Yeah, why we need Blazor server if it works exactly like ASP.NET? So the first difference is rendering. So what is going to happen here? I'll tell you. So both ASP.NET and Blazor, both use Razor to describe HTML, as we have seen. So you can write in your Razor pages, you can write your C#, your JavaScript, HTML, all three you can write. So these are.
So just to explain this Razor, it is more like an script kind of a thing. Okay, maybe you can, if you are aware of this PHP and all. Okay, so there will be some syntax to write some code, right? So this is the Razor actually.
Yeah, so regular HTML page, they will have extension as .html. So whereas Razor pages will have CSHTML. So that means it will be C# HTML. So in your HTML page, you can also write C# because it uses .NET's engine behind to convert your C# also to HTML. Okay. I mean, some high level you got, guys. I will show this also.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So both Blazor server and traditional ASP.NET use Razor for describing HTML. Okay. So what happens is your Razor page is taken and your C# code is converted to HTML. Okay. Your CSHTML page will have C# and HTML, right? Your C# code is taken and converted to HTML and the page is rendered like a regular HTML page. A regular HTML page is displayed. Okay. So after rendering, the server will, dispose that page or view instance. So similarly, like how we do in our applications, whenever like some instance is running, after it is no longer needed, right? That view is disposed in our .NET based applications or your class. After that class is used up, then that class is disposed. So similarly here, once that Razor page is requested for the first time, it runs all the code and the code is converted into HTML. And once all this operation is done, that entire page is disposed. Okay. So next time when someone asks for this same page, again, what happens? The same page is taken, the CSHTML, the C# code is converted to HTML, and the page is re-rendered again. It is like new. So you ask for something again, newly the same page is re-rendered again. All the rendering operation is done once again. Okay. Any doubts? Is it fine?
Yes, Naresh.
Yeah. So I'll come to now Blazor. What is the difference in Blazor now? Okay. So here, similarly, Blazor also has C# and HTML markup. Okay. In addition, we have seen like we have partial pages in ASP.NET MVC. So like
Yeah, maybe Naresh, you can just brief about because like mostly some audience doesn't know what is partial page. Okay, you can just give little bit background.
Vinay, you want to say about that partial page?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so basically, like whenever some page it is there, okay. So let's assume like one HTML page it is there, okay, certain portion, okay. So if certain portion is reused across like different pages, okay. So what they will do, they will just create kind of a one kind of a view where you can just plug that view. So this they'll call as a partial view. So wherever you want inside any page, okay, you can just reuse this.
It is like you can correlate it like user control. Having one user control in our our Windows Forms application. You can reuse that user control in many different places. No, similarly, we have partial views in ASP.NET. So similarly, just like partial views in ASP.NET MVC, in Blazor we have something called component. Okay. Now this naming of component is similar to what they are using for Angular, Vue, and everything. So they want, if people are working on Vue and Angular and they want to switch to Blazor, no, that naming convention problems, all those things will not be there. So that is why here they have naming as component here as well instead of partial view. Okay. And coming to rendering aspect, right? So what Blazor does is, first time when a page is rendered, no, during that period, Blazor creates a memory of the component or that page. It creates one a memory, and that memory is called a graph internally. It creates a graph of the HTML, and this graph will have the state also, state information, like what is the data in this drop down list, what is the data in this label, everything will be there in it'll be storing that. Blazor will be storing all this information. So next time whenever someone requests, right, okay, yeah, it'll store this information. It's called a graph, and this graph will be converted to one binary, some ones and zeros, and it'll be storing it somewhere. So, and this ones and zeros is only converted back to your HTML page and it'll be shown. So Blazor processes this. When before serving to you, it will create one, snapshot of whatever it is going to serve you. Okay. And that snapshot is converted to binary, and this binary again is converted to HTML and given back to the user. And so next time someone has done update to this page and he sends it back to Blazor. What Blazor does is it goes to its current graph, whatever it has stored, this binary, and it will check what things have changed. So only my text box has changed, okay, with some data. So what Blazor will do, it will only render that part. It will not render the entire page. Entire page is not destroyed, and again, entire page is not converted to HTML and given back to you. Instead, whatever has changed, whatever small things have changed, right, only those part is rendered and given to you. So whatever data that is transmitted over the network, right, that is also very less, because it is maintaining a memory of what it has served you earlier and what changes have happened now. So it is going to only render that part which has changed. So I mean, Vinay, got this or some?
Yeah, so basically like it will cache. So whatever
Yes.
delta component is there, what has changed, only that it will be serving. So basically this increases the performance and response time also.
Yes. 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 Correct. Correct. So, and whenever a Blazor application is running on my client machine, right? It has a continuous connection, signal or connection with the server. So when the user goes from that page 1 to page 2, then the component is destroyed. It will see whether there is a signal or connection on page 1. If that signal or connection is destroyed, no, even the component is destroyed, and that cache is removed. Okay, so that is the main difference with rendering part. Is it only does the delta rendering, it does not render the entire part. So that's it with regards to theory. We'll go back to the demo now. Okay, not able to see my screen now, right?
No, no, no.
I'll just
Only thank you.
yeah, thanks, guy. I'll just share. I'll share my. Able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Two examples are there. Before that, I'll tell you what are the prerequisite you need. Prerequisite is Visual Studio 2019.
Who has approved this?
Huh?
Yogesh, huh?
I got it installed, Vinay. Okay. You can raise a request in my IT. Get it done. So create a new project. So you will have you'll look for Blazor here. Okay. And then yeah, it'll show other kinds of things. So Blazor app is the new thing. Visual Studio 2019 comes with this Blazor app template. Okay. Then choose next. Okay, Blazor app 1. Let us name it as Blazor app 1 only. Okay, now we see two things are presented to us. So Blazor can be created in two ways. One is the server and one is the WebAssembly. Okay. So what we spoke about. And so when it comes to WebAssembly, you can give an option if I want to host my WebAssembly within ASP.NET Core or not. If I don't want to host, it doesn't matter. If I want to host it, I have to click this checkbox. And progressive web application means like if you want your application to look and feel like a app on your mobile phone. So if I want to do that, I'll create this checkbox and it'll make some settings for me. Otherwise, no. Okay, then if I do create, it will create for me. Okay, it's good. I'll now show the. It's fine, guys. This thing.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
Naresh.
Naresh.
Okay. So the first type of application is the Blazor WebAssembly. Okay. So I will just close all this.
Just to give about WebAssembly, just some information. Now, thing is like in future, they're not going to use much about this HTML, JavaScript, all those things and all. They will go with the WebAssembly. So with WebAssembly, like Angular also, they support this WebAssembly, but they support through the this TypeScript. Okay, so similarly, like Vue also has some assembly they support via some C++, C and all. So Blazor is something like it is .NET oriented. That's why we are just focusing on the Blazor.
Okay. So Blazor server and okay. No, okay. This is the WebAssembly application, I guess. Okay. So this is the WebAssembly application. We'll look at WebAssembly application first to begin with. Okay. So one example I have. So when you create the WebAssembly application, no, it will have the structure will be like this. So you have your program starting point. It will have some basic code actually. It'll tell based on the user arguments. No, you create a WebAssembly, okay, and your WebAssembly starting point is this app, okay, and some basic stuff. This nothing we need to worry about, and it will tell run this assembly asynchronously, okay. So this is like some boilerplate code. It will be created for you. It's part of the template. It will be in program.cs. Okay. That is pretty much all C# you will see. The rest will be all Razor and other HTML pages. Okay. Then app. So you have one router outlet here, and it will say run this class file program, run the assembly. This app assembly for this router will be this whatever assembly will be generated from this programs.cs. Okay. And then use it to render here. That's it. Nothing else. If I request for any other page, which is not to what I'm hosting, then it will say, sorry, this address is not available. Then I'll come to layout. A layout page. Okay. So there'll be one layout page. This will be like what you can call it. What is it similar to Vinay in our ASP.NET? This layout, same, right? Layout only, no?
Yeah, it's basically like a template is going to just provide for everything. Means like this will be one template. Okay, inside this whatever content it is there, right? That is going to change.
Yeah. So here, this is one HTML. Here I'm informing it. I have one sidebar div. Here within that you render one nav menu for me, navigation menu. Okay, like all these things. I'll just show that.
In ASP.NET, something master page they'll call.
Yeah, in ASP.NET you call master page. Here it is layout page. And within that you have some about page. If someone clicks on about page, go here. And one more thing I have here, you render my body of the page. Okay, and what content will come in the body, we will just see. And within the nav menu I have, so this is my nav which I've described earlier. And only one link I have. It is called home. And when someone clicks on home, navigate to this /index, this index page. Okay. And some logic will be there. What will happen if you want to collapse, all these things. So that's it. Just some HTML and C#. So Razor, you can see here, these what is the extensions are called .razor. Okay, it will have C#. Like I've written this for each here. I have written my code here. I've written defined some properties here. I've defined some classes. I mean, some list item I've created, and some classes also here. And also I have some methods also. So everything is within HTML file itself. Within a code, this is like a code derivative. What do you call it? It's a derivative, or it's a code directive. I have one code directive. Then within that, I write all my C# code, and rest of the thing is all HTML. And whenever I want to use some C# things within HTML, I will use like this @ or because it is in the same file, I need not specify that also. It can identify. Okay. So here I've specified already @ symbol is here in the beginning of this statement. So I need not specify search term is a C# term. But here it is not there. So I have specified, okay, it's a C# term. So I specified at search term. Okay, so this is Blazor WebAssembly example. So simple thing what I've done is I have one JSON file, okay, which is stored here, sample data. Okay, some data, some arbitrary data I have. Okay, you can see some array information I have, and I've stored it within the application. And whenever the application starts, right, this particular method is executed on initialized async. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to get from JSON asynchronously, and of this type, list of resources type, okay, from this URI. Use this URL, take this JSON, convert it into my list of these objects, and store it in this variable called resources. Okay, and then I have one more method here. From this list, if somebody wants to filter some data, you run this method and stuff. Okay, everything is here only. I have no other class file here to specify, and my class is also here. Okay, fine for now. Shall I run this?
So that means like you're mixing this Razor HTML with the C++,
C
C
sharp.
sharp, C
Yeah.
sharp. So this will be run inside the browser,
Yes,
not
it
on the server.
not on the server. No server side dependency, as you can see. There is
Okay.
nothing going and calling some controller. Nothing is here actually.
Okay, in real time, maybe like it might be interacting with some again some call actually.
Yeah, real time some call will be there. It will, instead of going to this JSON here, it can call some JSON somewhere or something.
Okay, okay, okay.
But major logic is here only. Whatever I want to do once
This
the get.
override on initialized async is there, right? This is like when first time page loads, right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
any sequence is there, like if ASP.NET page loaded, page unloaded, all those things, and also some events are there where
Some
Page
events are
life
there.
cycle.
Yes, there are some events, but this is the first one that it executes. Other ones I did not go through in detail actually.
okay, okay.
Yeah, maybe we can next time someone can see and explain to the rest of us also. That will be fine. But
Oh,
this is what gets executed. It stores here, and
okay, this is index razor, right? How we link to the main page where?
okay. Index. This is my index razor
Yeah.
at the main page. Now menu. Okay. One sec. What have I done? Okay. So whenever slash index is called, no, you
Okay.
render this page. I've given here in my index razor, and somewhere it should be there, I guess.
I think nav menu only.
Nav menu here. I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
So
So href is there.
href I've given call this slash index page, and make
Okay.
it by default. By default, it has to go to this navigation for the first time when it loads.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just run it. It's taking time actually to package things and this.
Maybe first time when it loads, how much time it will take browser?
It depends on our application, Vinay. I mean, if your application is doing a lot of network calls, so many other things, no, then it will take a long time.
Okay, now it is rendered.
Now it rendered. I did not specify my index as my home page, so that's why at this address there is nothing.
Maybe clicking on home, it will take it.
Yeah, clicking on home, it'll take me there. Okay, so yeah, what I did was there's one COVID-19 API which they have exposed, which will give out some JSON. So
Oh.
I just used that API and got the JSON. So everything is happening on the browser now, as you can see. I typed free and I'm just filtering it. First time it got everything. Next time it hits that filter method. And wherever I have this free thing, I'll just here in index. So first time it went and got this data, it stores in resources. Next time I have something called filtered resources. What it will do, it will take data from resources and then it will search for the term I have entered here. Okay.
Okay. How you are binding this search term with text box?
Okay. So what I'm doing, so here we have some bind attributes. Okay.
Okay.
So this,
So, okay.
yeah, bind this specific property value to this text box. Okay. And bind value should change on input. Okay. Otherwise, what will happen is, suppose user enters data, like something he enters and then he clicks enter or tabs out, no? Then it will bind.
Okay. Focus lost.
Focus lost. So what I've done is binding will happen continuously when data is being entered itself. Okay. Bind value event. It should bind on input. That means for every key press, it will bind.
Okay.
Okay. And what after a key press, after user enters a key press, no, I'm telling you call this method, filter data method. I have this filter data method. That's it. I'm
Yes,
capturing
yes.
that event, and whatever I have in resources, I'm filtering. And here in my HTML, no, I'm checking if some search term is there. I'm asking user to enter a search term. If search term is not there, what I'm doing, if search term is entered, right, while the data is getting is coming, I'm telling like, please wait, you're getting the information. Once the data is got, I am just doing for each and rendering some HTML. That's it. Like I'm creating some cards here, Bootstrap cards with some header, title, body, text, and all these things. So you can see like Bootstrap card, we have like header, the body, and then some title and the footer, all this information. So okay, so I searched for Bangalore, and that filtration happened for Bangalore.
Okay.
So that's it. I mean, see that there is no network calls happening back and forth now. Nothing is hitting the server.
Press F12. Go to the networks.
Yeah.
Just try to enter something.
I'll enter what? I'll enter police. Huh?
So you can just see here 2 and 4th, if at all any request going asynchronously or synchronous way, so it will be captured under the networks actually here. So you can just here, it doesn't depend on the server. So all your application is running locally.
Yeah, everything is running locally on my machine. Now, if I package this and give it to somebody, no, they can just run it on their browser. They don't need it to be hosted on the server. I can just give it on some content delivery network also, some CDN site.
Yeah, so CDN is like basically like your application, it will be hosted one place. Okay, this what the CDN providers it will do. They'll have like based on the region, they'll have one CDNs. So assume like I am a Microsoft Azure thing. So Azure will have like CDNs in Bangalore, so Delhi, and then in other countries and all. So whenever you request some content, okay, so instead of going and hitting the, if at all your server is hosted somewhere in the US, it doesn't go to the US. Okay, so it just sees whether it can cater this request or not. So it goes to the Bangalore server, it fetches that data and it gives for you. So that is the concept of CDN. So basically it reduces the load on the server and even reduces the bandwidth also, like putting more load on the server.
Guys, got it? Any questions? Blazor WebAssembly demo is done. We'll go to Blazor server.
Yes, Naresh.
Rashid, Shashank.
Yeah, we can go.
Yes,
Yeah.
Naresh.
Yeah. Okay. So WebAssembly, you saw that there is no network request. Everything happening within the same process within the browser's UI thread. So that is why one more thing you can see is whenever I enter some data, right? Like I enter Bangalore. Okay, I'll enter it. NGA. I've already entered Bangalore. But you can see the UI is hanging here because everything is happening within the same thread actually, within the same UI thread. I cannot run it on a separate thread. So until that filtration happens, data is coming, my UI is hanging. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is a limitation here I've seen. I entered Bangalore already, but still, since the filtration is happening, that data is not ready. I'm not getting anything here. Your UI is hung until the operation is completed.
Mhm.
That's one of the, because also it depends on my browser capabilities, how much memory is allocated for my browser to run. So all those criteria is important here for the WebAssembly. It is mainly depending on the user's machine. Fine, guys.
Yes.
We'll move to the server.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Naresh.
Blazor server sample. Okay. So Blazor server. I have taken more time than I already told actually, right?
Yeah, in slide it was 20 minutes.
Yeah. No, that was only for this one, the theory part.
Okay.
Okay, guys, this one for the server side, no, it is similar to whatever you have with your ASP.NET application, ASP.NET MVC. It's the same thing. These are all same. You have one startup class. Startup class will have one configuration injected, and some services will be configured. Okay, and stuff. Vinay, you want to give some detail here?
Regarding this configure service, huh?
This startup class
Okay,
and all these
so
things.
yeah. So this whatever like you can go to program.cs
Yeah.
first. So it's normal like in console application. Okay, so in the console application, basically like you'll have this main function, right? Like this. So very first time when this application launches, okay, so this is the first place it will be called. So as part of that, you can just see in the line number 26. Okay, so line number 25, where you can just mention what is your startup. Okay, so in this startup, okay, basically, can you go to the startup? Okay, whatever dependencies are there to run this application, all those things and all will be configured inside this startup. So maybe like adding this razor pages, and adding this server-side Blazor, all those things and all. You'll just configure it here. And even like if at all you have any dependency injection, all those things and all, you want to make sure like only one services is getting created, all those things and all, you just configure it here. Okay, service configuration, you will do it here. Then there is more related to app kind of a configuration, means like you want in development environment, you should have this exception created for the page. So HTTP is redirection. Then if you want to use like route configuration, this is more related to the application configuration. So the upside one, it is more related to the service configuration. So this is the one where we just configure the initial setup of our application and services. So this will be loaded only one time throughout. So once again, when relaunches, that time only it will be called. So not for the every request it will be called. Only very first time when it is getting loaded, only that time it will be called.
So as we saw, I mean, no need to get scared actually, because once you create the Blazor server application, no, all this thing is already created for you. This class is created, all the configurations, everything. Only line I added is this line. That's it here. Okay. So everything is created, everything is done, and if you run the app, it will work. So if you only want to define some data, right, then in that case you need to inject it, and it is not mandatory also that you need to use some injected data. I am only using it because I'm more comfortable like this. You can do it however you want actually. Okay, so the structure is like this. We have startup file, program file. Okay, then app Razor, imports Razor, everything we have already seen actually. Like imports is, which I didn't talk about earlier, is so if you have like a common set of namespaces which you are using throughout every page, like system.net.http to be able to use HTTP client, or if I go back to the previous one, no, Blazor resources app, here if I go to imports, you can see like I will also have okay. So what I wanted to point out was, so suppose you want to use that list, right? So you will write using system.collections.generic, okay? But that now is abstracted, and I mean it is within one of these namespaces already. So that is not exposed. You are not using it directly. It is within these namespaces. So similarly, if you have some common set of things which you will be using, you need not specify within every page. Now I can go to my index page and I can put a using statement here, like I have put, or I can put it in a common place here. That means if every page is going to use that, it will be here in my imports Razor. Otherwise, if I only want to use it in a specific place, I will put it in my page itself. Okay. So fine, guys, with that imports.
Yes.
Yes, Naresh.
Okay.
Sir.
So yeah, and then other structure is it will already create a data folder for you. Okay. And the data folder will have just like your controller, no? You will have one class. And here I created my own class. Okay. This class will have one list of resources. Okay. Whatever that means, some JSON. First time when I'm opening this, no, when this resource service is started, I'm retrieving the JSON, okay, and storing that JSON in this list, okay, deserializing it using JSON serializer, and storing in this list. And whenever user wants to filter, right, they will enter some string, and I will just filter that resources list and return this filtered resources. That's all. Same logic, whatever I've written there on the server side in a code directive. Here I'm writing in a C# file itself, more familiar language within C# itself. I've created one class.
Inside the Signal.
Yeah, I will tell you. This class is okay for you guys?
Yeah.
And this is that resource, this one class I have, which I created. So to, to identify which JSON property is which C# property, we need to write here. For Blazor, Blazor server, we need to do it specifically because it has to, convert from your JSON to your C#. But in Blazor WebAssembly, it'll automatically understand all those things. That is one change here. My phone number in my JSON is my phone number with this capital P and capital N in C#. So these kind of things, some attributes you need to specify. So guys, clear? Vinay, what was your question?
My question was how it is used in the Signal app.
How SignalR is being used?
Yeah.
Internally, I have not seen, Vinay.
Okay.
Yeah, I have not. I mean, we don't see any difference at all. They say like SignalR is going to be used actually.
Okay.
But internally, what we see for us developers, there is no difference at all.
Just see where the two references are there. Maybe
Where here?
In service.
Nothing here. Nothing is there actually.
No. That method get resource. The two references are there.
Get resource async. Yeah, two I'm calling from my Razor page only.
Okay. Maybe internally the framework will take care.
Yeah, internally the framework will take care. Yes. Yeah, so I'll go to my index page now. So index page, same. I'm telling it I will use this namespace blazor.data here, and within that I'm telling it inject me this resource service. Okay, and I'm calling it resource data service. All right. And the rest of the things are same. Bind value, I'm binding this to a property called search term. And I'm binding this on key input event. On key up, I'm asynchronously calling this anonymous method, filter resources, that's all. And I'm using an await keyword because it's an asynchronous method. Okay. So filter resources is within my resource data service. Okay, filter resources is here, but it is internally calling my resource data service. So here my code is very minimal. Here also I have C# code, but it is very minimal. Whenever on initialized async, I will say use my service and get the resource, passing in my search term and store the resource here. Then filter resources, I'm again telling it, okay, again you use my service, get the resources, passing in a search term, store the resources here. Search term is one property I've defined here to bind to my text box. Fine, guys?
Yeah, Naresh.
Shashank, Rashid. And if search term is not there, I'm telling I'm writing some if condition, enter a search term. If search condition is there, I'm telling it, wait, I'm getting you some data. Once the data is got, I'm doing for each, and then I'm just constructing my HTML. Fine, guys. Shall I run this? Any questions?
No.
Yeah. Difference is instead of doing everything here, we can perfectly do that here also. But it gives me an infrastructure in Blazor server to call something outside, like call something on the server side. Okay, guys. and SignalR will take care of the connection internally. We need not do anything. As a developer, we are, we don't have to be informed how it is doing, or we don't have to do it anything manually. I'll run it. Any questions in the meanwhile?
No, Naresh.
Okay. Yeah, so here, same thing, same page, no changes. My HTML is the same. It is a little bit more responsive because it is running in different thread. It is not like there we enter something and we see some delay, right? That is not there here. Immediately it is done and everything is going to the server. I'll go to the network tab. Oh, Bangalore. And because it is SignalR, no, we don't even see that, I think.
No, this one actually WebSockets it uses. WebSocket
Yeah.
connection it won't capture.
It won't display here, no?
Yeah.
So Blazor server is much more, better actually from usage terms, I see, because it executes both on different threads. So UI seems to be more responsive because data retrieval, all this is happening in separate thread. So the UI doesn't hang as much as what happens with the Blazor WebAssembly. So any doubts here?
Yeah, I think yes. Don't have any doubts. Okay, I'll just end the recording here. Okay.
Yeah.